Hi everyone, this is Jenny with the Wicked Good Everything crew. Today I am very excited to talk about our 24-hour live stream that is happening July 14th, 15th, starting at about 12 p.m. Today's video, though, will be talking specifically about what and who we are raising money for during this charity live stream. And today I'm joined with the wonderful Maggie, who's going to talk a little bit more about the EcoTarium because she works there. So, Maggie, do you want to introduce yourself to everyone?
Hi, my name is Maggie. Just like Jenny was saying, I'm one of the wildlife keepers at the EcoTarium. We're all super excited that WGE is looking to have their charity stream to donate money for us and specifically for the wildlife department. We're really looking forward to you guys being a part of that.
Yeah, we are excited too. This is our third year doing a charity live stream. The first couple of years was really exciting, and we specifically wanted to choose you guys. We've all grown up and we've been to the EcoTarium. I've been there more recently, and it's just really awesome place, great place for kids. So many animals.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of animals do you guys have at the EcoTarium right now?
Recently, the EcoTarium, we've changed our focus to focus more on native New England species. So at the moment, we have a large variety of species, including, but not limited to, our two wonderful North American river otters, Slidell and Daisy. We also have our red fox, Sox. We also house our North American porcupine, our two skunks, and some of our flying squirrels. And we also have a large variety of reptiles, turtles, snakes, things of that nature. So those are just some of the animals that we have for the public to enjoy. But behind the scenes, we also house a lot of animals that we use for programs. And then specifically at the EcoTarium, one of the things that we really focus a lot on is birds, a lot of bird of prey. We just acquired two bald eagles. They're really exciting.
Wow.
We also have on display a couple of owls and a red-tailed hawk. So just again, really focus on native New England species and talking about like why these animals are great and why it's specifically in Massachusetts we should, be focused on these animals. So it's really exciting. As one of the wildlife keepers, I work primarily, I am primary trainer on our red-tailed hawk, Jello.
Wow.
I am also primary trainer on our North American porcupine, Pepper.
Oh.
I also work with our two flying squirrels, Barb and Nancy. And behind the scenes, I work with our two program chinchillas, Diego and Chico.
That's a lot of animals that you are training with. What kind of training do you guys do? Is it training them to do tricks or eat food certain ways? I feel like what would you train a porcupine to do?
So I think one of the things that's really great about the EcoTarium, and from what I've learned really about starting in this field, because I'm brand new to the wildlife keeping field, training is one of the most important things that we do here. And again, at the EcoTarium, that's a huge focus of what we do. Training, specifically the type of training we do, is positive reinforcement training. But any training in general, all the main goal is to make sure that our animals' welfare is looked after and that everything we can do to help make the animals' lives more stress-free and more comfortable is our main goal. So by able to do training in positive reinforcement training, we're able to do things like have voluntary scale behavior, so where our animals can voluntarily step up onto a scale so that we may gather a weight for them. And weight is a really important way to determine our animals are healthy and that they're in good shape. We also have voluntary crate behaviors. So if we ever need to move an animal around, whether it's from an exhibit to a program or anything of that nature, our animals voluntarily will get into a crate and be used for the program. A huge emphasis on all of our training is comfort and confidence within our animals. So we want to make sure that we're never forcing our animals to ever do anything, but we're working through and with our animals to make them comfortable and, have a very positive experience. One of the things that I'm really proud of that I've done recently is working with our red-tailed hawk Jello and working on a hand feeding behavior, essentially being able to hold a piece of her diet and she takes the diet willingly from my hand. And by being able to directly reinforce an animal, just like Jello, just opens the door to include some more interest in complex behaviors, being able to work on a glove behavior where she can step up onto the glove with her choice, or being able to tap her around her exhibit, asking her to move from one side of the exhibit to the other and being able to directly reinforce that. That's something that I've been working on recently. I'm really excited about. It's a really big deal. Another example of a training behavior that I have worked on is painting with our
Ooh.
North American porcupine, Pepper. So Pepper will voluntarily hold a paintbrush, and with that paintbrush, he'll use that to paint a canvas. And those canvases we can sell at the gift shop, and just another easy, fun way that we can generate some more money for the wildlife department, and something that's fun for the public to see. They may see some of these painting sessions with Pepper, and just something for Pepper himself that is a unique way to showcase his natural abilities, be able to grab things and maneuver them around.
Yeah, that's awesome. Is that one of the enrichment activities you like to do with your animals?
Yeah, so Jenny mentions another thing that's super important for us wildlife keepers that we do at the EcoTarium, and that is in terms of enrichment. So enrichment is essentially anything that we can add to an animal's day-to-day that helps to break up their day, make their day a little bit more interesting, or for them to exhibit natural behavior. And this is, along with training, is super important. So there's a couple of different types of enrichment you can do. One of which that's very popular with our animals is what we call cognitive enrichment. And essentially it's hiding or displaying an animal's diet in such a way where they may have to either, forage for it, or they have to solve a puzzle to get their food,
Mm.
or, figure out a way to get their diet, instead of just placing their diets in a bowl and making them, eat it right then and there. We also do physical enrichment, where we add different toys or we rearrange exhibits and things like that nature. Just again, something unexpected, something different for the animals. We do sensory enrichment, where you involve the senses of the animals, and for certain animals that involves a lot more olfactory or smells and scent. Just in case of like our fox and our porcupines, those are two animals that really rely heavily on their nose, and so when we give them a different scent, they're really all over it. But for some of our other animals, sound and sights and things like that, or visuals, those are some of that we really get them stimulated and excited. We also do social enrichments, where we as keepers may go into the exhibit and spend some time with the animals, either through a training session or just a social session of just feeding the animals and hanging out. Or we may move animals around from one exhibit to a different exhibit so they can experience like a different change of scenery. Recently, we had our woodchuck in our otter exhibit when our otters were behind the scenes, and the woodchuck had a great time going around the otter exhibit, seeing that different exhibit, seeing all the sights and the smells and things like that. And then our otters afterwards had a great time going back in the exhibit and smelling that woodchuck, and sort of were like, what the heck was in here? Like, that was really exciting. Fun thing that we can do.
Yeah, that's really really cool. What's your favorite activity, whether that be a training, enrichment, a program? What's your favorite activity to do with the animals?
I would say
It's a hard
I
question.
personally have a great time doing training with our animals. Like I was mentioning earlier, I'm still relatively new to the field. I just became a wildlife keeper at the EcoTarium full time back in January.
Woo.
I had been working as a seasonal and a volunteer before then, but this is my first time ever in a zoological facility as a full-time keeper. And training and just the ideas behind training and why we do training just really fascinates me and makes it enjoyable to be able to go into work and think to yourself, how can I make my animal's day easier? How can I do something to make my animal more comfortable so that they can get, their care and their enrichment and their needs met in a way that is good for them. So figuring those out and being able to do those training sessions and working with an animal and just seeing them get more and more confident with a behavior is really rewarding. When you get to do a social session with an animal and you get to just like hang out with some chinchilla for 5 minutes, that's pretty cool too.
Chinchillas are adorable.
The chinchillas were two of the first animals I ever worked at the EcoTarium, and they were really great to think about animal behavior and animal training and just like working with them and really learning the basics and guidelines of training and animal welfare and taking care of animals and making sure that they are good.
That's great. And you mentioned earlier that you guys do a lot of different programs. Can you talk a little bit about what you do in your programs, how kids can get involved, how often do you guys do them?
Yep. So for the wildlife department, we every Sunday we have 3 different animal discovery programs where we'll take out either some of our behind the scenes animals or some of our exhibit animals, and we'll present them to the public where we can talk about why these animals are important, what we can do to help conserve these animals if they're an endangered species. We talk about, what are animals that are good as pets and not as great as pets. A lot of our program animals were surrendered pets because people don't know how to take care of animals. So that every Sunday we hold 3 different types of those programs. And then every Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday, we have a otter chat where we will talk about our 2 North American river otters. They're really exciting animals, and they're really fun to talk about because they're very sociable creatures. They interact a lot with our public, and it's just really fun to be able to talk about them, especially since they are a native species in Massachusetts, and being able to see them in the wild and see them at the EcoTarium is really exciting. So those are our formal programs that we hold with the public. We may also every once in a while do what we call keeper chats, where we'll just go and stand in front of an animal exhibit or bring one of our program animals out for behind the scenes to the public, where we'll just do a very informal chat talking about those animals, why they're here and what they mean for the environment, and why these animals are really cool and why we should know them. So having these public programs and being able to interact with the public and talk to them about these animals is something that's really fun, and I really enjoy to do that.
Yeah, I've actually seen one of your programs. I think you did it with the 2 chinchillas, and they are just so cute, and all of the kids were zoned in on these 2 little nuggets crawling around your feet. And I remember at one point, one of them, I don't know which, is just standing underneath you, and his little hand is he's just holding your foot like, Mom, hi, I'm here, just hanging out, just gonna like comfort from your just being there. It was really, really cute.
Yeah, one of the things that's really rewarding when you're a trainer for an animal, especially as a primary trainer, is the relationships that you build with these animals.
Yeah.
And I remember with those chinchillas, at first they were very wary to be working with me. And, fortunately, their confidence around me has grown, and so that they do feel very comfortable around me, especially in programs and stuff like that. And especially now that those animals feel comfortable around me, I'm able to present these chinchillas in a different and unique way. So specifically with Diego, one of the things I've worked on recently is having him out on a table where I can set up a table for the public to see, and he'll hop around in the table, and it's just a little bit in an easier way for the public to see him. But it's also a lot about being able to read animal behavior and making sure that Diego the chinchilla is calm and he's not being stressed out and being in such an exposed situation. So that was really exciting to be able to do that kind of behavior with this chinchilla, whereas a year ago when I first started working with him, I would not be able to do that. So that's really exciting. It's really fun to try to think about how we can present these animals in new ways to be able to educate the public about them.
Yeah, that's awesome. I can't wait to come and see see the chinchilla on the table. It's even more up close experience that you could have, which is really exciting.
Mhm. Yeah, one of the things we've talked about recently doing is, how we can present our animals in more new and exciting ways. And, having things like program tables, which are a little bit easier for the public to see, but require just a little bit more training with the animals, or working on, free follow, having an animal
Oh,
follow us around and not have necessarily any type of barrier between you and the public. That's some of the things that we've been talking about recently with some of our animals, and hopefully in the future we'll be able to see stuff like that. So really exciting stuff that's happening. I'm really happy to be a part of all of that.
yeah, that sounds awesome. It's really cool. I mean, I personally have been to the EcoTarium more recently a few times, and I have to say, the second time I went, I was worried that like I'd be seeing, all the same animals, but I kid you not, the second time I went, I saw so many new things that I didn't see before, or like there was, new fun toys or I guess enrichment activities in the exhibits, so I got to watch the animals interact with them. It's really great. I love that you guys mix it up all the time and changing your programs so you can really just keep going and have a new experience every time, which is awesome.
Yeah, again, that's the idea of enrichment, is just to provide new enriching ideas for the animals. And you can't really do that if you just do the same things over and
Yeah.
over again. So we really try to focus on giving new things.
I actually did want to ask, because I know this is a misconception that's come up when I've mentioned the ecotarium and having been there, is how you guys get your animals. Because I've had people being, do they just like go out and take an animal from the wild? And I'm like, no, they do not do that. So do you want to talk a little bit more about what kind of animals you're getting and why you're getting them?
So at the EcoTarium, one of the things that we, are excited to be able to talk about is how we've acquired a lot of our animals, specifically a lot with our bird of prey species. Most of the birds that we have currently at the moment under human care are birds that, for whatever reason, are unable to live out in the wild. A great example is with our red-tailed hawk Jello. She has a partial wing amputation. We're
Oh,
not exactly sure why, but due to that wing amputation, she is unable to fly and thus is unable to be released back into the wild, because she would not be able to, hunt or fly away from danger and things of that nature. Same with our two barred owls, Blanche and Rose. Both of them do have eye injuries. Blanche is missing an eye, and Rose has problems seeing out of her right eye. And again, just another thing, because of those eye injuries, they are unable to be released back into the wild. So being able to provide, a place for these animals where they can be, essentially ambassadors for their species, and give these animals the best chance of survival, is something that we are really excited to be able to talk about at the ecotarium.
yeah, I think that's awesome, especially with your focus on making sure that the animal's comfortable. If they have an injury like unable to fly or unable to see, I feel like that's, makes their life 10 times better than, struggling out in the wild or being in someone's care that's not going to go to the level that you guys are taking to make sure that they're happy. So that's really great. And I feel like that's why we really wanted to highlight the Ecotarium, specifically your wildlife department, because I know when we've been, we were all just really impressed with how focused you guys are on the animal, rather than your personal desires. I know if I was working with really cute animals, all I would want to do is play with them all day. But you guys do a really great job of putting the animals' care first and their needs first, no matter what. If they don't want to do it, they're not going to do it, and it's kind of working on building that trust. So we're really, really excited to help raise some money for you guys. We're still finalizing our goals, but we're going to work towards getting some enrichment activities for your animals and some items on your wish list. So we're really, really excited to help you guys. And I just want to note that the Wicked Good Everything channel has chosen the EcoTarium for a 24-hour live stream. We're not being sponsored by the EcoTarium. The EcoTarium hasn't reached out to us to do this, so there's no affiliation there, but we've just all really loved the EcoTarium and are really excited to help out where we can. I know you guys. You also mentioned previously about positive reinforcement. I think that's also another big misconception when people think about zoos, zookeeping, or ecotariums. But I know, especially when I visited there, I saw a lot about this type of positive reinforcement training. Can you talk a little bit more about that and what you guys do different and what's so special about the ecotarium and the training that you guys have with these animals?
So one of the things that's really exciting to be in the zookeeping field at this moment is the idea of behind training and just how training is evolving. It's a really we're learning new things every day, and we're learning how best to train these animals. And there's it's one of those things where there's not necessarily a yes or no easy question about how best to train an animal. But this field is really exciting because it's constantly learning and figuring out the best tools to be able to
Mm-hmm.
do these types of training. So at the EcoTarium, we do what is called positive reinforcement training. And essentially what that means is that we try to reinforce behavior that we want to see more. So to think about that, you can break it down simply with if you have a pet dog and you want to train that dog to sit. When you use positive reinforcement training, what you do is that every single time that dog sits, you say good, or use a clicker. In training terms, this is what we call a bridge. It's something that lets the animal know that what they did was behavior that was desired. So again, you say the word good, you may say yes, you may use the clicker, which is a common training tool. Anything of that nature, again, just lets the animal know, yes, that was the behavior I want. Once the animal hears the word good, that is when you then come in with a reinforcement. Typically, it's a food reinforcement, either a type of treat or something for the animal's diet that they highly desire, and
Mm-hmm.
you give it to the animal. And again, it's just a very clear picture to the animal. They're like, oh, when I sat down, I got a cookie. So once you do that more and more, you'll get to know that your dog will start sitting more because, again, every time they sit, they get a cookie. And you could then put that sitting on a cue. So then you may say the word sit, or you do some sort of hand signal, and you can start associating that cue to the sitting behavior. And again, your dog will know, when I do this, when that person asks me to, I will get the cookie. So that's just a very simple way of explaining positive reinforcement. Is you're reinforcing, again, behavior that you want to see. You're reinforcing every time that dog sits. Now you may be asking yourself, okay, but what if my dog doesn't sit? What if my dog speaks or runs around or runs away or something like that? Then all you do is just ignore it.
Oh.
We don't yell at the animal, we don't hit the animal and things like that. You're simply going to do what we call like a shutdown. I like to call it a shutdown. You basically shut down like a robot, and you wait 3 seconds, and then you continue on with the training session. So you're not reinforcing the wrong behavior. You're not confusing the animal by trying to reinforce a wrong behavior, but you're also not saying no to that animal. So you're not punishing that animal for performing bad behavior. So to the animal, it becomes, again, another clear picture of like, oh, when they asked me to sit but I barked, I didn't get a cookie. I didn't get anything from that person. She didn't react at all. So that's not it. Like, let me try something else. And then the
Mm-hmm.
next time you may see that sit behavior. So that's a type of training that we do, the EcoTarium positive reinforcement, but there's all different ways of training.
Cool. Well, I will have to admit that you have definitely shown me the shutdown face. And if someone did that to me, just like out in public, and you're like walking, you're like littering or something, and you like see someone and they literally just are smiling, and then all of a sudden there's no emotion and they just stare at you, I will definitely go back down and pick up that piece of trash and throw
Yeah,
it
if you are
away.
ever curious of, training, there's a lot of resources online that talks about positive reinforcement, and it's a very effective tool, especially, or even with working with people. If you want that person to pick up that trash, you can straight up LRS them or shut down, and they'll do it, because that's how I was taught. So.
It definitely works. That is for sure.
For sure. It's really great to work at the EcoTarium, and especially learning all these training techniques now. The EcoTarium, unlike some of the bigger facilities that have a lot more animals and not as much time, I'm very fortunate at the EcoTarium where we're a bit of a smaller facility, so we don't have as many animals, but my boss has a very big emphasis on training and really values training. And so training our animals and my boss training us keepers to train animals is a really big focus, and it's just, you know, a really great tool to have under my belt of how to properly train animals.
Yeah, I can't imagine it's a very easy skill to learn, and so I feel like all of the opportunities that you guys get working with these animals must be incredible. And on top of that, you guys are using positive reinforcement, and you're never forcing the animals to do anything that they don't want to do. So not only is it benefiting you, it's benefiting the animals, and it benefits all of us that get to see these amazing, very, very happy animals.
A lot of it really comes down to some of the first things you have to do with any animal is reading animal behavior, which is also another huge focus at the Ecotaria. Being able to understand when an animal does this, what does that mean? If an animal does this, what does that mean? You know, and being able to understand context, you know, if an animal does this and there's a lot of craziness happening in the environment, you can then, you know, deter or you know, figure out like, okay, maybe this animal's stressed out. You know, what can and then taking that information, knowing this animal appears to be stressed out, how can I fix this? Whether it's, you know, changing the animal's environment, changing your approach to this animal for a training session, because nobody wants a stressed out animal.
No.
And by being able to do whatever you can, if you can, to change their environment to make them less stressed, that's the ideal situation. So reading animal behavior is the first step with any type of training, and we focus a lot on animal behavior reading at the Ecotarium.
Yeah, I can imagine that must be like very difficult to try to figure out.
It is difficult, and I'm very fortunate to have some great mentors who have taught me a lot about reading animal behaviors and understanding certain things. A lot of it is not as intuitive as you would think. But, you know, I'm very confident now to be at a point where I can see a bird of prey and understand, oh, that bird of prey is stressed out, or that bird of prey is quite content, comfortable. Or, you know, seeing some mammals and understanding a little bit of mammal behavior and being able to apply that to my own dogs. And know if they're stressed out or not. I still have a lot to learn. At no point in this field should anyone ever feel like they know everything, because that's just a straight up lie. But I feel like I definitely have learned a lot since I started working.
Well, that's really, really exciting. So I am also very, very, very excited to talk about the fact, obviously we're raising money for the new enrichment toys, but one of the exciting things for you guys who are watching and are able to donate, the highest bidder will get a very, very special gift. And Maggie, I'll have you explain a little bit more about what exactly that is.
In the Wildlife Department, we're obviously so excited that WGE chose us for this charity stream this year. Is just as a little way to thank them and to thank the viewers and donators who may donate. We would like to offer a one-of-a-kind North American porcupine painting made by our very own Sergeant Pepper.
Oh, yeah.
We would like to give this to the highest donator, or the donator who raises the most money. These paintings are really cute because, as we talked about earlier, this is a painting situation where Sergeant Pepper will hold the paintbrush himself and then sort of swing it around onto a paint canvas, in which then the paint dries and we can present those paintings for the public. It's a really fun behavior to train. I watched a little bit of it happening. This is a little bit before I started working full-time at the EcoTarium. So it was really cool to see how they got this working. It's a really special gift. I will not guarantee the fact that you may or may not get some porcupine wood chips in that painting. He is a beautiful painter, but he's very messy at sometimes. But it's a really fun gift. I'm really excited to be able to present that to the WGE Twitch stream.
Well, we really appreciate that, guys. This really exciting. And I've seen Little Pepper in action, and he's by far the cutest porcupine I've ever seen. Granted, there's not many porcupines, but the cutest one I've ever seen. He's just so precious. I love him. He has the cutest little hands. So I can only imagine that he's going to be creating the best porcupine masterpiece the world has ever seen for us. And I really appreciate you guys giving that to us.
We do have some video of him painting the exact canvas that will be presented in the streams, him painting.
Yes.
Because it is really freaking adorable. So.
The animals are all so cute. I can't contain myself. I'm like literally like I'm smiling from ear to ear because I'm just thinking of Little Pepper. I'm a little biased. Pepper is by far my favorite animal at the EcoTarium. So
he's really great.
It's gonna take a lot for
we
me
like
not
to
to
personally we call him Pepcasso.
Pepcasso? Oh my god. That's cute. You should get him a little those little like artist hats, whatever they're called.
Exactly.
Only paints. It's gonna take a lot for me to not bid like all my money for this painting.
I know, right?
It's like I want a painting of a from a porcupine, like. But yeah, so definitely, you guys, if you can, please donate. Not only will it go to an amazing organization who does a lot of great work for a lot of animals who need a better life, but you also have a chance to get the most adorable painting you'll ever see, and it'll just be really memorable. So please come hang out with us for the 24-hour live stream. Even if you're unable to donate, we just love the support. Share it with your friends. Just hang out in the chat. There'll be a ton of us there hanging out. It's going to be a really great time. And again, Maggie, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy zookeeping days to talk to us. We're just really excited for the opportunity to raise some money for you guys.
Like I said, we're all really excited as well. And I will be joining the stream for a few hours as well. So if anyone thinks of any animal question or training question, I'll be more than happy to answer those questions.
She knows it all.
From the Wildlife Department at the EcoTarium, we thank you all for participating in the stream, whether you donate or not. We appreciate all the support.
Cool, and with that, we're going to sign off. And thank you so much for joining, and I'll see you all at the live stream. Come hang out.